Podcast.
Hello and welcome, the official NRL Fantasy Podcast. I'm
NRL Fantasy Podcast.
As always. And a special guest behind the curtain, Dan Moffat. Thanks so much for
Special guest.
stepping into the
Special
spotlight.
guest.
Not too special my rank at the moment, but
That's all right,
Last 2
mate.
years, you have absolutely killed
We're
it. I'm
10 rounds in, mate. It's all
I'm
good.
sure it's going to be 3 from 3 because we all know that he beat us last year. I think only the great Brad Preston finished higher in our internal league. So for overall, so it's high pedigree. And the year before, we 1,000 and something.
1,600 I think. Yeah.
1,600.
I'll take.
So I'm telling you, it's all good. But we need to know about last round because there was a bit of carnage. Luke, what was your takeaway?
Oh, well, carnage was what I said was going to happen. Is I thought a lot of things were going to.
I told you.
Well,
I told
you get a bit of
Like
a
the
feel.
parent.
You get a bit of a feel for this. It was a very risky round for certain people, like that wanted to get that cheap mid. You know, we all talked about like Saifidis of the world, Jazz of the world, trying to get ready for that
Rollin
round.
dice.
Trying to get ready for that. You know, the Origin cover and that.
We didn't get a lot of luck. Marju
No.
and Nicholson were both two good guys to
Horrible,
cover.
horrible
They're both
time.
gone.
Horrible timing too.
And then for those that own Toby Couchman, even though he wasn't going to play round 12, that's an awkward.
Yep.
What is he? 3 weeks out.
That hurts.
But also, he was a guy that people were going to go to like straight away. That was the big thing. He was
Yeah,
a lot of people
it's
going
like
to
Plath all
yo to
over
him.
again.
Yeah, like Plath all over again. So
The guys we wanted later in that bye rounds is.
I think if you fundamentally like the actual takeaway from this round is I think how many trades you've got left. Can you max trade out this week? Because I think if you're below 16,
Oh no.
You're in trouble.
I think you really need to put the handbrake on because
dear.
I think there's going to.
I could be in trouble.
I think there's going to be a bit of a divine storm next couple of weeks with
I'm
these
gonna keep
selections.
Absolutely.
Dan, what are you going to do with Toby Couchman?
I'm holding. They've got the bye in the next 3 weeks anyway, so in my head I'm just justifying it, saying he's going to miss 2 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a soft tissue injury. It's just a shoulder.
Yeah.
So
Hold, mate.
I have to hold at this point.
And round 13, you only have to play 13.
Yep.
So even though Couchman would have been in those, obviously the elite 13, your next best player in those key positions, either edge or mid, probably won't score too much lower than him. I don't think you're going to lose a lot. It's just this round, you're going to take a hit.
I imagine a lot of people with Egan, right, who just slots straight in, may get a bit more minutes. With Couchman out possibly.
It would
the
be
rotation
hard.
there.
It would be hard in round 13 when you've got guys. You might have either a Wong, or you might be picking up a Hosking this week.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you've also got Egan and Couchman who can both play edge. And then your mids, you got guys like May, Haas, maybe Yo, maybe you're selling Yo, but you're pretty stacked in those 2 positions. You only play 3 mids, only can play 2 edges in round 13. So really, if you can just survive this round, and my advice would be put a couple of guys in looping positions that play those early games. And don't make the trade, but just know what trade you're going to do. So you make it earlier in the week, you reverse it, you know in your head, right, this is what I want to do this week. If those guys like a Nyongi, a Riley Smith, a Katoga go well in that first game, or a Savala in the second game, you might be able to save the trade. And Luke, you've talked about needing to save trades, so that's probably the best way. Watch, and if they do go low, if Savala gets an under 30, we doubt that will happen, but if he did, you say, all right, well, I better bring in an Isaiah Katoa or...
Well, I got 115 points from looping.
Yeah, well, there
on the
you go.
weekend, just by doing what you said. Because I obviously had a few Roosters players, so what I did was I put Marky Mark in centre.
Yeah.
So I waited to see what Kiatoga was going to do. He went well, played him, and I had a couple other guys that rounded up, so I could literally, you know.
You got Cleary this week. You might decide to hold one of those other injured guys like a Toby Couchman, so you'll have room to do this looping, and you can move them around.
Looping is just, again, we say it every week on this show. It's so, if you really want to get a good score and a good rank, it's so important because you leave so much on the table because you look like, you know, me and Moff were talking about this before earlier today. It's like, oh, I'm having a bad year this year. I'm like, well, hang on. You're only like a couple 100 points off. Like,
well,
that's one, like, couple of real bad loops.
Well, I'm in a little West Tigers chat group, and all our scores are within 100.
Yeah.
But the difference in ranking is 2,000, 4,000,
Hey,
7,000.
the difference between like five.
There's less than 100 points between the three of us.
Yeah.
So
The difference between like 5K and like 1,500 is barely nothing. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Just keep the faith, but
two
every
good
little point
rounds,
matters.
You'll half your rank.
You don't realise it, but then when you look at it and you go, hang on, like Purdy got a 45 and I played a 30, you're like, oh, it's 50. You know, man, it's 15 points,
all
but it
adds
adds up.
How many people would have like missed points in loop? Like you play someone, you put them in the reserves at the very bottom, you put them in 2021,
Well,
and then you
Rob
see, oh, they
Toyer.
got 50. Rob Toyer that
got
week
the
got
98.
Yeah.
That's why it's good to do the guide and you set it.
People had him in 21 instead of 18.
Yeah.
You play someone who gets 30, that's a 60-point swing. That could be a lot of ranks you miss out on
a
because
big
of that,
swing.
or catch up.
Yeah, it's the best piece of advice we can give you.
Origin's around the corner. Get your questions in, especially if they pertain to Origin. How many guys do you want to have this week? I'm thinking 11. I'm thinking if I've got 11 of my 13 set for next week, and I've got 2 trades to get to 13, and then a third to cover an injury next week.
Is that pre-trades?
Yeah, I'm making trades to get to 11.
Oh, okay.
As a minimum.
Okay.
Right? If you're under 11, you've probably got to make a couple of trades to get there because next week's going to be tough. I don't know if you need 13 next week, but you're going to need at least 11 or 12, right?
I think 11 will be par. Anything more than that will be a bonus. Mid is really tough.
Mid is really tough, but certainly the astute coaches out there are already 12 or 13, so 11 will be par across the board. But if you're shooting top 2,000, top 5,000, I think par will be closer to 12, 12 and a half.
Yep.
So just be aware if you can somehow get to 11 this week, just look ahead one week and go, all right, well, if I got right on a piece of paper or an Excel spreadsheet, and that's how I would do it and get those guys playing. And then we've got the fringe players, right? Your Beau Fermors, who luckily, I guess, Titans of the bye anyway, Terrell May the same. But then you've got guys like Jacob Kiraz, Jacob Saifidi. People are going to be watching how they go, Zach Lomax.
Moffats, man.
Because if they have big games this week, they could be a shot.
I think Fermor's a little bit above fringe, but
I think because Titans have the bye anyway.
I'm messing.
I'll probably say, well, at least you knew what you were.
Yeah,
100%.
100%. No, I get 100%.
I think Kiraz would be the real left field one that people are going to be going, because I think they planned him to play in their wings or centres. Right?
Yours truly.
There's a real chance, like if Lomax goes down this week, on his return.
Yeah. It will be between him or moving Stephen Crichton to the wing.
Or does Tommy Turbo come into the wing?
I think Tom will be playing.
But Turbo might play in the centres anyway.
No, but I think they'll
You think he'll go wing?
Yeah, I'll just do what they did last year with in the tests.
Get your questions in, but first we've got to talk some footy. Let's do it, shall we? It's the Newcastle Knights versus the Parramatta Eels. Friday night footy with the Women's State of Origin on Thursday. So it's a good game for fantasy perspective. A lot of people are loaded up. Right?
Underrated fantasy game, this one.
But we did lose Greg Maju, but still, Ponga, if people are still holding the faith, I don't know how he will.
Roscoe's holding the faith.
You probably have to, against
this
the Eels,
point.
hoping.
Yeah.
Fletcher Sharp, he keeps finding ways to crack the 50s.
I don't know how he does it, honestly.
Every round it's a different way, right?
I've had him for over a month now and he just keeps pumping out the numbers. It's fantastic.
I hope everyone brought in Dylan Lucas last week or the week before.
I had him before the injury too. It was very unfortunate.
I had to talk people into him. I said, mate, you can't skip him. He's just going too good.
He's going too well. Kai Pearce-Paul was a little down, but I think they didn't kick on in the second half. It cost them the win in the end. They really needed to stay focused, and that would have helped your Kai Pearce-Pauls, your Bradman Bests, your Greg Maju before he got hurt. I think their scores were lower, Ponga as well, because of that. And then we need to talk about the elephant in the room, Jacob Saifidi. With no Leo Thompson there, I'll ask both of you, Luke, I'll start with you. What are you doing? Because he's very cheap right now.
I got him last week.
Jacob?
Yeah.
So you're laughing.
I did that last week. All the chat, I think we had a lot of questions last week about Jazz or Jacob. I thought it was a no-brainer. I'm not playing Captain Hindsight, but I thought Jacob, the correlation with him going down, their form went down. As soon as last week was a bit of just an absolute travesty, but
he laid the platform.
As soon as he came back in the game, it looked way better.
100%.
What do you think, Dan? Are you just going to get him in this week? I mean, he covers round 12 mid.
Yeah, I mean, given mid is such a wasteland. Round 12, he's still reasonably cheap, like 400-ish.
429.
You're going to have to take a chance on one of these guys, but you also, like Paulie said, you're going to have to take a chance on the guy you know's guaranteed minutes.
The danger will be if he goes that well, you get a great score this week, you bring him in, but then you don't get the round 12 benefit because Laurie Daly could pick him. He's played Origin before. He's probably on the outside looking in. For us, we're looking at Terrell May, who's untested at Origin. Do they rather the proven commodity in Jacob over the untested, but who's been killing it this year?
We could do a whole segment on this.
That's right. So that's what you got to think about. We've got to move on to Eels, but that's the worry.
I
right?
think fantasy-wise, I think you'd have to play like Hercules to get in this week.
Right.
I think you'd have to have the game of his life.
Riley Smith's going great. He's still a buy if people want to go that way. He plays in round 12. Tioni Kartoga hit back.
He's back. He's back.
And he looked good.
Fantasy Barnacle, what we always talk about.
Yeah,
Well, as soon as you want to flick him, he comes
a way.
good. He finds a way.
And so
you have to hold.
So did Isaiah Young.
100%. And who came back, Paulie, when those guys were going bad? Just remind me.
Yeah, well, Mitch Moses is back. And now Zach Lomax is back. That's going to help double.
Yeah.
But Jermaine Hopgood, if you've held that faith, it's probably since the Dylan Walker's come over from Warriors. Well, the 13 for the Eels has gone whoop, and the 13 for the Warriors has gone whoop.
I've got a couple.
It's been one of those games of the moving the bombs.
I've got a couple of players reach out to me every week. They've held Hopgood this whole time.
You got to sell.
And they're just like, please, something. And they've been posting that stat that's come up about, how many minutes he plays in their win rate.
Oh, yep, I've seen that.
And it's been getting spammed that non-stop. I said, mate, what can you do? I said, you've almost just got to get, you're at the point now you have to just cut the cord. I don't know what you're going to do.
Take the loss, take the hit.
Because him and Walker it's just a perfect situation of Dylan walking, they counteract each other.
Yeah.
I just don't know what you do, so.
Let's talk Bulldogs v the Roosters. It's the primetime clash, 8 p.m. And what about that comeback by the Bulldogs last week, led by their captain Stephen Crichton, and then the guy next to him, Jacob Kiraz. I mean, was he on 9 at half time?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It was, yeah. It was getting. Him and Tamale were catching colds out there. There was basically just nothing was happening.
Yeah.
And then it did.
Yeah.
But he's that type of player.
It's just possession with him. Once he gets, because he's always in the game.
Loves an offload.
Loves an offload. He's like me. He hits the line with the intention to offload.
Yeah.
Just create that second.
You just got to stop it.
Who knows what can happen from there?
And dare I mention Jamin Salmon because he's hurt. There was a lot of news on that whole game about him, but ramifications has opened up. There's two guys I really like for the Bulldogs. One of them is your consistent, tried and true to Max King. The other is a person who hasn't been fantasy relevant since he left the Panthers, but it's Viliami Kikau. He is quietly putting up some really good fantasy numbers. And in an edge, we're running out of options.
We've had a very big edge just falling out of favour. It's really going to be him. Obviously Hosking.
Bye schedule.
But good buy schedule, and I mean also it's going to be very.
And a pod.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to give you your flowers. I think I'm not going to, not the spoiler alert, but I think you're taking that. I think Max King's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I love getting Max King in just because I know you're not worried about Saifiti, but I figure at $4.29 I can afford to wait one more week. Watch him. Yeah. If he doesn't get named in Origin, I can grab him next week. I get King this week, and then Saifiti next week, and I've gone Tarpanay, King, Saifiti week on week to get my 3 mids for round 12.
Couldn't you say something about King playing Origin there too?
You could, but the rumours out there is
I'm just
if you're a Bulldogs fan,
I'm just saying.
You will, Matt Burton, 18th man.
If he gets the phone call, look out.
Going back to waiting with Saifiti, I think it is often worth waiting that extra week.
Yeah.
They might become 40, 50k more expensive, but
you either
if
go
that
early
saves you a trade,
or you wait.
That's worth so much
more. You
more.
go early and you get on like I did with Aaron Clark, you did with Saifiti, and get those good early scores and get the price rises. Or you say, you know what, I didn't get him early. How much am I going to lose by waiting one more week? It's probably around 40k.
It's like risk versus reward,
maybe
right?
50.
Yeah.
It's not too bad. Let's talk Roosters. A lot of people would have held the likes of Toya, Nawanganitawaze, Teddy, obviously, Savala. So they had a tough round last week if they did that. But you get them all back this week. And even Teddy, certainly the others, are going to play round 12, play round 15, play round 18.
Is he going to play round 12?
Well, that's what I said. The others definitely.
Yeah.
Even Teddy might.
We've just got to get through this round first. But again, credit to guys like Scotty and that took the risk on him early, because I think he's been close to being the best player.
Every year, Teddy typically has that dip. Whereas this year it just hasn't happened. I've been waiting for it, and
wing fullbacks is a tough position to fill this year.
Very tough.
It's probably you know how centre was always tough?
I think that and hooker.
Centre and wing fullback have flipped this year because we've had the likes of Lucas, even though he got injured for a bit, Fermor.
Toya's done very well. Spartawa's done very well. Purdue.
Who we're going to spoiler alert.
Even last year we had KO. Udo as well.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah, well, he's still a buy.
Oh,
if
he's
you
still-
wanted to.
yeah,
Him
he's-
and Herbie, and
He scored a
and our
try
boy
every
Bradley.
game.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
You can't deny it.
I'll be keen to watch Docker Clay because if you're not getting
Yeah.
Riley Smith, he could be a cheat code for the old round 12, 15, 18.
We assume Watson gets picked for Origin.
Yeah, well, I think he's out
I'll
of
be
all
watching him too.
out of all the guys in this game, I think he's the safest. That's
He
going
could be very
to be gone. That's hence why I traded him last buy.
Same.
Yeah.
And White, I think's turned out to be a decent hold.
Oh, well, mate, he's been very.
Collins back,
he's
though, he
been
might
very
lose a few minutes.
He's been very blessed with the injuries around him too.
Yeah.
So well done to people who got him.
And if you're like me and you lost both your edges week on week, you kept Wong because I lost Preston and I lost Nicholson, but Wong was keeping me going. So we'll see how he goes this week. Let's talk about the Dolphins and the Warriors, shall we? And, well, both of them last start winners in close affairs. So this is a game where one team's going to be very, very happy. Isaiah Katoa, we probably should have given him more love over the early rounds.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He's been... I knew he was going to have a much better year than last year, but the improvement's even gone beyond what I could have imagined.
He's playing so well right now. He's absolutely killing.
And respectfully too, he's one of the halves too that probably hasn't got the best pack in the world around him, and he's still
Oh, no.
performing like this. So I can imagine what he's going to be like if they get a.
Yeah, well, they need some guys back.
They've got-
Right, is
they've got-
Tom Flegler ever coming back?
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
obviously
saying.
Daniel Saifidi.
They've got a lot of guys on the sidelines. Imagine what happens when he
Yeah.
gets a couple of front rows back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And other than him, though, fantasy-wise, unless you
Herbie.
want
Herbie's
to go,
done, I think he's
Herbie.
kind of an unsung hero at the moment. Like,
Yeah.
Herbie's such a good centre.
He's a great centre to have for your run home. It's just so many guys. We just talked about centre going so well. It's hard to
fit him in.
fit him in.
Especially when you got
The
someone
other-
like
Other
Lucas,
fires
who's just
as
been-
well. Yeah, we've had injuries.
Well, mate, on that Parramatta game on Friday, he was literally on about 32 or something with 20 to go.
And he just
That
hit the
one
over.
run,
that try?
bang,
Yeah.
and he's back. He's on 60 in blink, and you're like, well, he's gonna have another monster game. That's all. That's what Paulie's point is about him. That's all it takes. It's just one
One play,
big
one
play,
moment.
and he's cooking.
Two out guys that can do one or two big plays. Luke Metcalf for the Warriors. A lot of people jumped on him after that big score. They would have been happy with a 50-odd or 51, I think it was, in tough conditions. Wollongong on an evening. You know, it's not going to be the best place for a halfback to shine. This game probably is going to suit him a lot more, right? At Suncorp, 3 p.m. We saw what he did at Suncorp on Magic Round, so he's back to the scene of the crime.
I got to eat a humble pie with him too. I got to take my licks with him. I thought, I got off him, and I thought, no, he's not going to be able to keep doing this, and he did it. He's proven me wrong. So
Yeah, the only danger now, if you didn't get him last week, is that after round 12, they have buys on round 15 and 18.
Yep.
So if you're looking for Cleary cover, he's only going to help you in round 12 and round 16 because Ivan Cleary's already said Nathan and the rest of the Panthers representatives aren't going to play in round 16. It's the only thing is that you're going to have to find another half for round 15. But you can worry about that later. He still seems underpriced for me. He's got that same upside that Jaden Campbell has because of the way he plays. Obviously, Clark, he seems to be blessed at the moment. Fisher Harris is back.
So how will that affect him, you think?
Well, Ford and Afoa are both out.
Okay.
So I feel like that Fisher Harris will just take those minutes.
Okay.
They've got Martin and Healy on the bench. It's a
Yeah.
very light bench. Even Valmunga was a converted edge, and Laban, he played a little bit of middle last week, but he's usually an edge.
Yep.
I would assume Tuivasa-Sheck comes into the side.
He's been out
named
for
in
ages
reserves,
too.
Yeah.
and that allows Kurt Capel because he could play centre, right? And Kurt Capel could move into the forwards, and then Nia Kure could play as a prop.
Well, that's what he's predominantly been doing this year anyway.
rather than on the edge where he's named.
Some big ins for the Warriors.
100%.
They're having a great year. Got one more game to go. It is the Cowboys v the Seagulls, and then you can get your questions in and we will answer them. So let's talk North Queensland versus Manly, shall we? And the Cowboys are going great. I mean, they probably feel like they've left some points on the table, right? They probably should have beaten Penrith. They could have beaten the Warriors in that comeback. But the standard's good. But this is the shock selection of the round, isn't it? Because Jackson Purdue's been moved into the halves, and I was surprised Jake Clifford dropped because their team improved a lot when Clifford came into the team. So, I mean, it probably didn't help the way they managed the back end of that game.
I think looking over the microscope a little bit, I think also too, I think they were. Ivan even said it himself, they were lucky to get away with the draw. He thought Cowboys were coming for him in that second half.
Yeah, they probably should have.
And also on the flip side, I think too, Payton was a little bit not unimpressed with A, defence on that side of the field,
Yeah.
and B, I think he needs to sort out his attack.
So Purdue has been playing left. Does that mean Dearden moves over to
Well,
the right?
that's the $1 million
Purdue
question.
just slips
That's
in one?
That's the $1 million
or does
question.
Purdue have to flip? Because Dearden, everywhere we've seen him go, he's exclusively left side. So this would be a big change for Tom Dearden, but he's captain, he's experienced, he's now an Australian representative. So for the sake of the team, you'd think he'd be putting up his hand and saying, I'll move over, and that will fix the defence and it will allow Purdue to play his natural game as a Fletcher Sharp.
Very interesting matchup, this one.
Well, putting the Origin hat on, it's really unfortunate that Ben Hunt got injured, right? Because if he missed out and you're adding kick meters to his score, he's going to get 65, 70.
Be on the 10,
Well,
15 points every week.
he barely
Do you think
kicks.
Dearden will now play Origin for sure?
Yeah.
I mean, they were talking about
Yeah,
potentially
100%.
putting him in
They can't
anyway.
leave him out.
He's too good.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if we were talking this before the hamstring injury with Ben Hunt, I reckon we'd be getting a lot of questions this week going, just go in.
And talking Purdue, a lot of people were keen on Sharp once they heard he was going to play half.
It could be the same effect. It's going to be a very similar
He's-
style.
Sharp was the same price that Purdue is now at the start of the year. So could we get another 150k price rise? Is that out of the question? If you don't have Purdue, could you say, well, I'll watch him this week, but if he has a good game, I need to jump on in round 13 because who knows, if he stays there, he could pick up a dual position in round 14.
Yeah, and also too, I think it's also to accommodate because he's been injured for ages. Zach Labour. Payton loves him.
And we need to have a star on him, right? Because Labour could also be a bring in either round 13 or 14, depending on how the Cowboys go.
Another centre. Cheap centres this year, just crazy.
And then I'm just watching guys like Nanai and Robson.
Shout out John Bayman on the weekend. He had a good game.
Yeah, and
Then I've had a few good weeks, actually.
Yeah, Manly. You mentioned Nanai, by the way, weeks ago. If someone jumped on that call, they'd be laughing.
Yeah, I jumped on, but
scores,
unfortunately,
good prices.
unfortunately, I think he's playing too good. He might get in the bench now for New Queensland.
Oh yeah, but you know what?
Yeah,
You've got to take it. You've made money.
The price was too irresistible.
Yeah, Bateman's got superpowers, says Tom Lake.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
All the Englishmen look after each other, so.
Now, Manly, there's some disappointments at the moment. Obviously, Ruben Garrick owners would be very, very upset with that score.
As a Garrick owner, like, you take those games because he's going to have another one where he gets a 6.
Yeah, that's
It'll
right.
balance out by end of the season.
He does that quite a bit. He does that quite a bit.
He is an overall specialist. If you play head-to-head, do not buy Ruben Garrick. The 1 week you need him to win in a semi or whatever, you get the 20 odd,
28,
and then you're out. But overall, as you said, he's too good to pass up, especially if his price has dipped slightly. Jazz Tavanga owners will be mortified by the news that he's moved back to 9, because I think for him, like Hopgood does for the Eels, when Hopgood plays 9, he loses all relevance fantasy.
Well, not to play Captain Hindsight again, but we did talk about this last. I warned people about.
This goes back. Wait one more week.
And we still don't
Give
have
one more look.
Alloway, and we still don't have Croker back.
Yeah.
When they come back, Tavanga could be on the bench.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think he'll be doing like the opening 20-minute impact, and they'll bring the other guys on. That's what I was saying. Like, it's a very, very fluid team because there's no.
They're not winning enough.
Their front rowers are out. That's the problem.
Yeah, but if this team wins, then Jazz stays at 13. But as soon as you lose, then Siebes has to change it up.
The only thing is, again, people that did buy him last week, you're praying that Jake holds the captaincy for New South Wales. That's what you're praying for.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. That's the only thing you've got to focus on here.
And then let's talk about his brother. Is Turbo going to play Origin?
Yep.
You sure?
I think he will.
Because he would be a great pickup if he didn't play Origin.
No, I think he's going to play. I think they can't leave him.
It was only a few years ago where Turbo and Latrell absolutely tore up Queensland together.
It's just the.
I love him.
It's just the but it's the versatility. Like if they get all those guys in the back line together, I don't see.
I don't know. I don't see
how
how
they're
they
going
fit
to
them
lose.
all in. You think Lomax is dropped from last year?
No, I think it's the battle is on the other wing. I think it's a battle between Lomax and Toa.
So only one can survive. Latrell's got to play, right?
Yep. Because he'll be on the left.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's get your questions in, shall we? Hubba Bubba, so good to be back watching the boys. What's a good amount of trades to left? Got 22. Well, 22 is good.
Not bad.
Hubba
He held
Bubba,
Preston, but now he's going to sell him.
Hubba Bubba, you are flying, buddy. I hope you got a good rank, because if you do, you are going to skyrocket with that many ranks. Because how many have you got left?
16. I'm in the max trade game with Andrew this
I
year.
think I've got like 18 or something. But yeah, it's very. I can't blame anyone, because it's just been that kind of year. Like, there's been one more injury after another injury.
Yeah, the injuries, but you always warn everyone to wait for that.
You're gonna have
take
to.
advice.
You're gonna have to do the Dom Toretto handbrake soon, mate. You're gonna have to just stop.
I think having the new rule with only 13 players in the round
Yeah.
after the bye, that'll help a lot with saving
Oh,
trades.
yeah.
For sure.
And most of my trades are looking into the buy. As you know, I like to do heavy buy planning, so at least, I don't have to turn around one week and go, oh, where's all my players?
Do you like that Preston to Hines?
Preston
though?
to Hines.
I like Hines. I'm trying to find a way to get him in, but at the moment I've got
Who would you
Fogarty and
rather?
Zavala.
If you had
so
Preston, who would you
not
rather?
needed.
Well, if you need a half, Campbell and Sharp are the top two. Campbell doesn't play around 12, Sharp does. If you already own Sharp and you need a round 12 guy, the next duo is Fogarty and Isaiah Katai. Either one is good. Darth Trader. I've got 20 trades left, but I want to do 3. Nicholson to Hosking, that makes perfect sense. Ponga to Fletcher, and that's who we mentioned, Sharp. And then Yo to Max King. Well, I love it because
I
Max
can't finish
King's
with
my
those.
guy.
I can't believe I didn't come up with that name. That name's outstanding. I love that. Yeah,
Good
mate,
trades.
Mate, he's cooking as well.
Don't need to ask us.
I think above. If you're above 18, 19, I think you're in a real good spot, because I think that you're factored in the Origin carnage, and you're
Ready to go.
Yeah, that's great. That's great, buddy. I think they're all no-brainers.
Daniel Dimitrescu, good to see you, Dan. Afternoon, lads. I bought Cian Kane with him a few weeks ago. He's paid the faith, but what do I do with the best? Well, I think I'm a best owner.
Sold, right?
Yeah, because he's a bit like Garrick. Like, he has 2 games where you think, oh, why have I got this guy? And then he pumps out, he's had scores of 70, 79. He gets these great scores. And then you look at his average overall for a centre, and he's right up there in the top few. So I think at this stage, if you plumped for best, you just keep holding him. They never buy at around 18, but he's probably not in my final team if I've got enough.
And fair play to him. Like, he played awesome last year in Origin, but I think he's just in an era where they've got so many good players.
Yeah, if they did select him for Origin, then I would trade him out.
Yeah, but I'm with you though. I think you got to hold on, because I think he's going to miss out.
He's going to miss out, and he might be fired up, right?
Yeah, that's
Prove
right.
the point.
That's why you got to
Might get
hold him,
another
Daniel.
80.
He might just brain it.
Might get one of those 80s.
That particular matchup, it's a very good matchup for him.
Yeah.
So
He's so funny because he made all that money and now he's almost back to his starting price, but that's the way it goes. Wayne Torpo, any thoughts on Bateman?
You too, former Bateman
Yeah,
fans.
Tigers fans.
I don't mind it. I'm just wondering if there's any other better options. The Cowboys do have a good bye schedule coming up. When do they have a bye in? Is it 18 and then 20?
No, it's 12 and then 27.
12 and then 27.
So there's a
There you go.
massive gap. So obviously Bateman, if he gets another 50, he might go up about 10k. That's not an awful lot, Wayne. So you can just watch him one more week, not have to own him in the round 12 bye, and then pick him up if you really like him in round 13. I just worry with some of these guys that shall I call them veterans?
Yeah.
Like DCE, Bateman, Takiaho. These are guys that present really well from a fantasy perspective. They've done it in the past. It's not quite translating. The younger players seem to be the ones that are really making us open our eyes, like your Fletcher Sharps and the Luke Metcalfs that are really bursting. Jaden Campbell, big fantasy scores, perhaps beyond what we originally.
He stood out to me last week. He was running very hard last week,
Yeah.
so I think Tom Lee gave me a phone call before the game.
Well, he
so.
reckons the spider that bit him had the super.
I think that's just a cover for. I'm pretty sure he had a chat to him on the phone. So, no, I don't mind it.
And then Fletcher Sharp, Robert M just wants to know what his predicted score is. He plays first up. You could almost stick the VC on him. I've got him at 61.
Well, Rob, I keep writing him off every week because I don't have him because I'm a jealous ex-Sharp
You
lover.
might have to get him next week.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm like, he's just too resistant. I think he can't do this again, and he ends up scoring 2 tries. Like,
Yeah,
it's
he's
just
one of those
unreal.
guys. He's so
nowhere.
fast.
He's Brimson on steroids. That's who he
That's
is.
why I like
It's
Purdue in the
nuts.
halves because
Yeah.
Purdue has
Could be
the
the
same
same
game style to Sharp.
61, Robert, lock it in, mate.
Yeah, lock it in. Let's talk the Sharks v the Storm. It is the 7:30 game on Super Saturday, and Cronulla, I don't want to bring it up, but that was an important win against your team, Manly. Gets them back on track. They do lose Hazelton, though.
It's a big blow.
Not fantasy relevant, but he helps lay the platform for the other guys. Like if you've got a Fanua Blake, particularly Britton Nicola, right?
Yeah.
He could be a great guy to have over Origin, Dan, but the forwards need to lay the platforms because he's an attacking-based edge.
Absolutely, yeah. And you got to play like Fanua Blake as well, who won't play Origin.
Yeah, I was
Another
eyeing
handy
him
pickup.
off. But I feel like that injury that he got...
What did he score last? He didn't score. He scored a try, and I thought he's in for a big game. He actually didn't score that well.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I think Paulie's right. I think he's got a... Yeah,
52.
That's low for him.
Yeah, he looked like... I mean, his break-even's more than that. Like, he looked like a guy that was going to be a great pickup. And I love how the Sharks have their buys, like round 13. You got guys like Haas coming back from Origin, May back from the bye, maybe Origin. And then Fanua Blake's on bye. It just, the symmetry's perfect. They just sub each other in and out. So I was dead keen to get him. But that week he went off about a month ago now, early in the game, and he seems to like he's played through it.
The Perth game.
It's just hurt him from a fantasy perspective, I think. The other Sharks, as we mentioned, Britton, Nicola, worth looking at, definitely. Cam McInnes is not the worst. And then, of course, Nico Hines. We've had questions on him over the last month. Still is a guy that seems to float in and out of games. That would be my worry. Whereas in the years gone by, he did everything and he got great fantasy.
Well, it's interesting in this game, the Sunday game, right? Trina got a HIA.
Yeah.
So Hines had to take over the team, and then when he came back on, Trindle took over the team again.
And another 50 odd. Good score, but when you're paying that amount of money...
It's not the Hines days of us walking into 75, is it?
Yeah.
Hero will be the interesting one, but we're pretty loaded for centre. So let's move on to the Storm. Now, they've still got a couple of buys in the near future. They're going to be a great team to pick up at the back end because I thought their buys are going to be done early. But those people that jumped on Munster, I almost did it. I think it went when I wanted to get the Savala loop, I reversed the Munster route.
Yeah, you did.
But he's been good since that day. In prep for Origin, he does this every year. You're going to get one more good score out of him, but then I think you sell him after this game.
Just
I
remind,
almost traded him last week.
Yeah, you just
then I
hope-
reversed it.
Good.
Like I did because I got a 70.
just remind everyone who he is, that's all.
And Pappenhausen, wow, 100.
Well,
He's kind of gone under the radar a little bit too.
It's because of
The injuries.
Well, yeah, but also too when people were eyeing him originally. Remember, he had sat out that game. Everyone goes, "Oh, here we go." They're managing an injury. Everyone got scared of him, and now he's got back into it again. And he's warming up. So and now he's goal kicking as well.
And what do we talk about?
What's going on
with Storm and having that awesome spine? Is that they steal from each other? But Harry Grant's been out the last month, so it's allowed the other three because Garlic and Wishart are just distributors out of the half.
Yeah.
So it's allowed those big three to sort of really step up their game, and all three had good scores. But Hughes again,
A bit underwhelming.
He took some.
I think he's in second gear.
Well, that's what I mean. Like with these early buys out of the way, like Hughes is going to be a great pickup.
That's
in a
my
few
only
weeks.
worry with them. It feels like to me that a lot of guys are carrying injuries.
I think he used to be carrying a shoulder injury.
I don't know.
From a few weeks back.
Shout out to Lenti too, who picked up Katoa.
Yeah, well, he's another guy.
He's a weapon, man. So like,
Preston and Katoa could end up being your edge combination on the run home.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So I like players like that where people go a bit outside the box. You know what I mean? So
I don't think he'll be so lightly owned once their buys are over. Let's talk Broncos v the Dragons. It's the 2 p.m. game on Sunday, and both teams desperate to hit back with a win this game. Ezra Mann back for Brisbane. That's the big one. They've named Xavier Willison ahead of Brendan Piakura. People might still pick up Piakura, though, very, very low break even. But would you risk it after last year?
but not for that. Not for that reason. I would not risk it for the reason. I think Billy Slater loves Piakura.
You think he might play?
And he could very well get a bench.
18th man last year.
Yep. It's only going to take one.
One injury.
Like something happens to a Fermor or a Gilbert, who knows?
Well, yeah.
I'm just saying, if you brought him in this week, if you held him, that's fine. But he's not far off.
Still there.
Yeah.
Selwyn Cobbo's been pretty good. I mean, probably people that bought him wanted more, but He hasn't been bad.
Well, you talk about disappointing teams. This would take the gold. They take the gold
So is
medal.
Payne Haas captain just
That was
without blink?
That was an unacceptable loss on Friday.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. So to your fantasy point, you'd expect an absolute rip snorter of a game.
You could get close to 100.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll be
we've seen
captaining Haas. Yeah.
We've seen
Yeah.
some big scores against the Dragons by mids.
Or
this
middles.
year,
They just can't stop anyone.
especially now Toby Couchman's
Yeah.
out.
It's like,
At home too.
So we're recommending holding Toby if you own him. It's going to be a tough hold. 3 weeks where it's tough.
But
to fill
I think
guys,
it'll
but
be-
you just got to do it.
touch wood, I think it'll be worth it because I think he's been busted the last few weeks. Gives him a couple of weeks off, comes back fresh, and he'll be good.
If you're holding him or other guys
He's
like
too
I might be.
He's too valuable.
His average was really high
He's
before the
too
injury
valuable
too.
though.
How do we go though if we own Dylan Egan and Lycan King Tonga? Do we now have to play these guys in our 17 this week because we're light on? Like,
Oh,
is
I'm
that
playing.
too
I'm
risky?
playing. I'm playing.
Egan,
I'm playing
even if
Egan,
he gets
yeah.
benched.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
What about King Tonga?
I
Nah,
didn't
Luke.
get him. I'm still worried about Elias potentially coming back.
Still in
next
the
week or two.
reserves. What about you, Luke? Would you play King Tonga this week
No.
or just
No, too much traffic running at him.
Hamish Stewart's been good.
I'll be stunned if these guys don't come out all guns blazing this week. I'll be stunned.
Yeah, I'm a little worried. Even for Dylan Egan, I'm a little worried.
Yeah,
he could get a
that's
35.
warranted. If you can loop it. But again, I think
too many
I don't
guys
think people
out.
can loop
They
that.
can't.
Loop
I
second
can't.
rowers.
Not second rowers.
That's
I think
crazy.
you're probably looping. If
You're looping
you're
halfbacks
keeping
and
Cleary,
fullbacks,
I
aren't
think
you?
you're looping
Yeah,
your
centres.
two halves.
Yeah.
Savala and King Tonga. Shall we talk Raiders and Titans? A 4 p.m. game. And Jamal Fogarty coming against his old club. I'm excited to see this. If you don't own Jamal, probably a good week to pick him up.
Mate, I'm telling you, this game could be. I'll be shocked if this game's under 60 points.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some good scores. I think
Points galore.
Sab
Mate.
Tamale owners will get their revenge this week. I think he's
Please.
going to get a much better score. I think AJ still could back it up. I did suggest, even though I traded him out, I said with Campbell back, he could bounce
Yeah.
back in a big way because he
did.
plays much better when he doesn't have to worry about running the
I
team.
still can't believe they won last week.
Yeah, that was.
Well, it probably
Blows me
saved
off.
it.
Yeah, well, it was just, it's just, like, yeah, that's the thing with them. Like, especially if you own them in fantasy, outside of Fermor, you have these
a little
guys,
down
and you
than
and
what
you
you
and you
wanted.
look and you get 20 minutes to go, and you go, oh, Brimson's on 20, Campbell's on 30, 5 minutes.
Well, he
just
played on
turns.
one leg.
Yeah.
Campbell. He got 63 on one leg.
It just
What's he gonna
turns straight
score?
away.
If they didn't have the buy in round 12, I'd be buying him this week. And I only just sold him because I tried to hold him. And then the whole thing with Magic round with Sharp, I was like, oh, Sharp's got a great matchup. I'll move now. And next thing you know, Campbell's back.
Respectfully, I wish Tino wasn't a Queenslander, because I'll tell you what, if he didn't play Origin, he'd be my first guy pick. He'd be one of my first. He's a weapon.
If it wasn't for all the mids killing it, we'd be talking
Everyone's
about him
talking
a lot
about Terrell May's minutes. His minutes are
Yeah.
insane.
He's
had a
He
great
takes
year.
5-minute breaks and he comes back on.
more. He's had a great year.
Like he's just, he off an ACL. It's unbelievable. Like he's not getting enough love.
And both from will hit back in this game, I'm
Yeah.
sure of it. And should mention with the Raiders too, because Corey's back. If you held him, if you switched him to Tarpanay, good move. He was outstanding. He's going to go well again, I think. Hudson Young's going to go well again, but Zach Hoskins.
Yeah, well, I think he's going to be very
could
popular
be a
this
nice
week.
swap. Just a
Absolutely.
Nicholson, like
And-
you'll save a bit of cash, Raider for Raider.
And with Horse, you've got to do the reverse Jake here. You've got to hope he doesn't make Origin, because if you didn't trade him, you're going to be laughing.
I did trade him. I think
what-
he'll play Origin.
I think he'll play Origin.
I'm just saying,
But I
if
still
you
held
stick
him.
solid,
You got to hope he does.
if he doesn't get picked, you're going to be like, you beauty, I've got an extra mid now, I'm laughing.
I held him. I felt like
That's good,
I had
though.
guys like Kiongi scored well for me in my emergencies, so I could have Corey making them qualify through the
It's
loop.
good, Paulie.
Yep.
But I still think he'll play Origin.
Here we go. So the floor's yours, you two.
Get your questions in. We're going to answer them very, very shortly. But first, one more game to go. It is the 6:15 game on a Sunday, a rare Sunday night game for this time of year. West Tigers v the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and South's coming off the big win. Tigers coming off a big loss. What will that mean? These are two rivals. Anything could happen, but one thing's for sure, Latrell, 1 week out of Origin selections, probably going to have another big game. They name the team directly after this match.
Or will he be reserved because he knows he's in the team?
Must have saved
Well,
himself.
6:15, he might have already.
Wayne, just give him the rest. Give him the week off.
You guys will be hoping that.
Now, Humphreys had a quiet game.
Yeah.
But is there a time where he bounces back, or is Latrell now just owning this team?
Well, I'm gonna take your quote, Paulie, that you use for all this stuff. I'm gonna give it a couple of weeks to see what he's like,
Yeah.
because I think
His price is plummeting.
His start at 7 was crazy because
crazy.
he was not only doing the kicking,
Yeah.
he was doing the Connor Watson role where he's
Yeah.
making 30 tackles a game
Yep.
and he's running 100 metres. I don't care who you are, that's not sustainable.
His numbers were
They're
ridiculous.
just he was doing insane stuff.
You know what I was shocked about? So Havili, he got 68 minutes
I know.
playing hooker, scored 39. I mean, it's not a great PPM, but that was what people wanted out of Tavanga.
Yeah.
So you could go Havili instead. Now, again, you watch one more
probably
week.
safer.
They're on the bye, but Havili is a great cover for Aaron Clark. You and Aitken, is he going to get dual position? I don't know. But
Oh, okay.
But-
I thought you were going to give us a little bit.
Bit of a scoop there.
I've got no idea. I haven't even looked at it.
I was
you know.
excited there for a
But
second.
He's someone people are going to think about. Maybe a pivot out of Hubner into an Aitken.
I think
or a
I'm
Havili.
gonna give because also too I think he's going to miss out. Well, I think fantasy wise, you're going to give Cowan a bit of love. I think he's an option
Yeah.
because if he's playing the middle now, he's a very juicy
Played
fantasy.
70 something minutes.
Yeah, and he's getting good scores too. So
Yeah.
I think he's got something to look at, especially like Moffat said, that wasteland mid area.
Stafford Tower's back for those that held the faith on him. And then Terrell May, would you captain him this week, or is it Haas or bust?
I don't think
Haas.
it's a bad option, but I think if you do have Haas, you have to go Haas. But otherwise, May's not a bad option.
I can see both sides, but I'm purely putting the C respectfully on the better player. And the matchup.
the
on the
wild
matchup.
card this week with no Cleary, but I'd go Haas, Tarpon, May.
Yeah.
Well, something to keep in mind with the Tigers is they've travelled as much as any other team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
it's
more
a lot.
this so
It's
far,
a-
but they're the
it's a
only
Campbell
team that
team.
hasn't had a bye. 4 other teams have travelled as much as them. They've all had buys.
It's a big
Yeah.
It's a big point, man.
Like as a Tigers
They'll
fan
enjoy
watching
the
them,
bye next
we
week.
need the rest for sure.
Literally, this game is an absolute coin flip. I don't know what Tigers are going to get. I don't know what South's got. Because South emotionally, that was a big game from like no one gave them a chance.
Yeah.
So now you've got the downfall. Now you've got a Benji team that's basically put a rocket up them all week.
Yeah, but not a coin flip where it'll go down to the wire. It could be
Yeah.
30 points one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yep. You just don't-
Or it will be golden point.
Yeah.
please no.
Moffat can't handle it.
My heart's
Late
had too
night for
much.
those of us in the studio here working on Sunday night.
Yeah.
If it goes to golden point like last Sunday night,
Yeah.
well, the Sunday night before. Get your questions in, shall we? Let's answer a couple before we wrap up the show. Gus Harris, forgive me, I still don't understand what looping is. We had a few videos. We might be able to pull out one of the ones
Yeah, I
from
think
last year.
It's
on the
probably
site.
overdue for this time of the year.
Yeah, it might work. But basically, Gus, if you have a player in your emergencies who scores well, and a player in your starting 17 who is a red dot or doesn't play, then that first reserve will count. So it's great for new starters because you might not check your team before every game, and then like what happened with Corey Horsburgh last week, he's laid out. Instead of getting Corey's points, you get whoever's in 18. But obviously astute fantasy players and coaches can set their lineup where they can put in those early games, 18th man, 19th man, etc. Some players where they're not that confident on, but they're hoping for a good score.
Yep.
And then they can move anyone who's on a bye or is injured into those reserve spots, 14 to 17, and therefore 18, maybe even 19 will count. And then the second level, of course, is if you just want to do it by position. So, for example, me this week, I'm going to hold Greg Marju. I'm putting Iongi in emergency 20. I don't have any wing fullback cover, so therefore Iongi's points will automatically sub in, even though I've got people higher than him, because he's in the same position as Marju, who won't be playing. If Iongi had an absolute shocker and I don't want to take his points, I could do a mid-round trade,
Yep.
pick up a Kiraz or someone like that, and just make sure they're ahead of Iongi anywhere in that lineup, and they'll be counted as my emergency instead of Iongi. So it's just a way to sort of manipulate some of the rules for some of our newer players, shall we say, which everyone uses it. That's in the top sort of 1,000, 2,000. So we've got to kind of use
It
it.
does require you though, Gus, to like literally check your app nearly every game, just to
Yeah.
make sure you're just like
You got the
You
right
got to
player.
move the right guys in because obviously it blocks.
I
So
think effectively it just gives you like a sneak peek at
Yeah.
the score. So if you see, for example, a player scored a 35, you then have to determine if the player you'd replace them with, will they get higher than 35? Are you going to take that risk? Is there a number that you guys have in mind?
Yeah, 35's a good
35's about the
No, you-
score?
Yeah. nail on the head, mate.
maybe 40 this year because
Depending on the position too.
Yeah.
if
And
it's a 35 for like a wing fullback,
you almost have
you probably just have to take it. But if it's 35 for like a mid, you go,
not good enough.
no,
If you
good
get a
enough.
35 from Iongi this week, will you trade Marzu or will you take
Oh,
Iongi's
I think
35?
just because I'm so low on trades, I'd have to take the 35. But maybe I wouldn't. Maybe and yeah, that's the 64.
That's the discipline, Moffat. That's the discipline right
That's going
there.
to be really tough. 35 is going to be one where I'll be stewing. One last thing before we get to this question by King Blood as well is try to mix it up per day. So at least you've got a bit of time to dwell on what you're doing.
Yeah.
So if you've got Iongi, for example, maybe try to have a guy playing Saturday or Sunday that you're going to loop in for Iongi's score if Iongi doesn't get it.
Yeah.
It can be a bit stressful otherwise. If you've got a loop between the Friday first
Yeah.
game and the second game, you've
Yeah.
got that small window of like 15, 20 minutes of
Yeah.
checking.
Pick
But
two guys, one plays Friday, one plays Sunday. And have the guy on buy like a Cleary. So that way you're never going to get snookered. King Blood asks, hold cow.
Hold.
absolutely, yes.
We
With the bye, he's missing 3 weeks. One of those weeks is a bye which you would have missed if he was fit anyway.
and only play 30.
Too good of a player, mate. No point because you want him back.
Just get through this round and the other two you'll be fine. You should have enough cover.
Yeah.
Jazali asks, should I move on from Ponga? I've already got Teddy and Kiddos. I just think it comes down to how you think he'll go in this matchup against the Eels. They're at home. It hasn't really helped them, though, being at home. Has it this year?
I don't know. I've just got a feeling that he's going to do a Munster here.
He has
Just
been playing
one big game before the.
He has- he's been playing,
respectfully, he's playing. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard.
I mean, at the end of the day, how much more money can he lose?
That's right.
May as well hold him if he gets a big score, at least.
If you
got
were going to
something
trade
out of
him, would you go someone like Sharp maybe?
Oh, if you could
Oh,
afford it.
if you can
Wow.
afford it, yeah.
I mean,
Because I think he's like 200 something difference now,
there's
isn't
no,
he?
there's
How
no
low is
obvious-
Ponga's?
Oh, mate,
Has fallen.
he's nearly dropped 200k, I
It's
think.
nearly 200. Yeah, 514.
500,
So he's
yeah.
probably he needs a 40.
Sharp's 200k more.
He needs anything under that magical 35 number, and he's going to be less than 500. Yeah. Daniel asks thoughts on Purdue in halves. I love it.
Yep. Because, well, I think Paulie said it best. It could be Sharp 2.0 all over again. Super quick, loves the ball in his hands. He's a runner. He could literally have a Sharp effect here.
Yeah, and he could, if he gets that role this round, round 13, and then round 14 when DPP occurs, well, he would get dual position. He's basically a guy I want to now keep until they're buying round 27.
That's why I started with.
Do you think he keeps the role through the entire Origin period with Dearden likely being picked for Queensland?
Well, that's all we need, right? All he needs to do is play those three, and he'll 3 in a row is pretty much a guarantee of getting
Not to
dual
put
position status.
not to put too much pressure on the kid, but I think he's almost a friend. I think he's by the end of this year.
Yeah.
I think he'll be their franchise.
He'll be a
player.
star.
That's why I brought him in later than most, because I just thought he's the guy that they want to have.
It would not shock me at all if he made the Kangaroo tour either.
Wouldn't shock me if he got to even close to 700k by the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's how much I like him.
Yep.
The Keg with Yo set to miss out on 4 of the next 8 matches. Would you trade out for Jacob Saifidi? I would.
Bank the cash, mate, and then you get another big star with the remaining money.
We talked about it with the great Brad Preston yesterday, and when you've got only 3 mids available in round 13, and you own May and Haas, how much are you going to lose? Because you've probably got a third really good mid like Tarpanay.
Yep.
Like, does Tarpanay outscore Yo in round 13?
Possible.
So Yo might not even make your team. If you've got Haas, May and Tarpanay, Yo doesn't even make your team in round 13.
It just
'cause
depends.
you can only play 3 mids.
Yeah.
So now he's missed 5 of the next 8 matches. So I think it's an easy trade. I'm doing Max King because Max King has the buy in round 13. Then I don't have that issue
Yeah,
of
okay.
which of
That
my
balance.
4 gun mids do I play, because I can only play 3.
Yep.
The balance works out well, and then King's back for 15 when Haas and May are likely out
Yep.
again. So that's why I'm doing King instead of Jacob Saifidi, but the price is right for Jacob. Jack Abraham, good to see you, Jack, and it's great to see Dan on the show, says Mr. Abraham. Roosters have such a great schedule coming up. Any of their players must owns.
Would have
The great man.
been Teddy if it wasn't for his form being so good that he now is considered for Origin.
You almost have to just see what Daly does
Yeah.
before you select him. But I think he's a great cover to have as wing fullback.
If he's not picked for Origin,
Yeah.
I think he would be a great fantasy.
I like your shout. I like Zach Docker-Clay.
Yeah, I'm really keen to pick him up in round 12, actually, because that's my other
I think it's a
option, is
great
moving
shout,
Aaron
Paulie.
Clark into the mids,
Yep.
playing Docker Clay, he could
Yep.
get a 50, and then just letting him sit there for rounds 15 and 18 and do the same thing.
Love it.
They could use him to loop if he's
And then
if
use
he's not
him
picked.
as a looper potentially, because round 14 the Roosters are on bye. But you can't do that if you've got guys like Toya, which I unfortunately sold too early, Nufu White, which I never had. Like, it's not going to work. You only want to own 3 Roosters probably.
Yeah.
Well, that first buy round, you had Savala, Watson, Nawanganitawase.
That's the other question, yeah. If you are a Savala owner, will he be a sell in round 14 when Sam Walker coming back? Maybe you can get away with having 4 Roosters because you're going to sell one of them in round 14. But yeah, it's a tough one. Swain, afternoon lads. I've just done my trades. Toya out.
Ooh.
Crichton and Toa for Herbie, Trent, Liero and Lycan King Tonga. Is that a good trade? Well, I'd keep Toya and I would not trade in Liero, and then I'd just do the other 2.
Just firstly, that name is outstanding. What Paulie said, I'd keep Toya. Yeah.
Toa's
I
interesting
held
though,
Toa.
because if
I'm
you held
holding him
him
still. If
you
you've held
might
him
wanna
this
hold.
far, I'd give him another week. Like, we're against the Rabbitohs this week. Like we said, it could be 30 points either way. I think there's going to be points on offer.
And the problem is too, Liero is actually a smoky for.
Yeah, I don't think
Well,
he'll do it. And
you got to factor that in.
Stephen
danger.
Crichton's got a break even of 5. So I'd actually save all trades.
Yeah.
Just save them all. Keep all 3 of those guys and hope they do well, and then you can always trade out Crichton next week when he makes Origin, because he will make Origin.
I considered Toa to King Tonga as well, and my thing was I'm going to hold Toa, see how he goes. Like I said before, King Tonga could be out for Ilias in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Just don't know.
Yeah.
If you back King Tonga to really keep that spot, then it might be worth it. Otherwise, I'd just hold
They need a
Toa.
win.
Yeah.
They need a win this
Keep
week.
those
though.
3 guys. They could all go.
They need a win this week though.
Jeremy Worth, who would you trade out this week, Yo or Couchman? I've only got 16.
Yo.
Definitely
Yo.
Yo, just because we're basically saying 4 and maybe even 5 if your mids are strong.
Yeah, don't even think about it, Jeremy. Just lock it in.
Yeah.
Makes too much sense. Bronte Giello, good to see you. Bronte, I'm worried Kraz will make an Origin squad, but I need to move Marju into someone. Well, you've got the same problem as me, Bronte. I'm keen on Kiraz, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. But you can't do this with Marju, unfortunately. You have to keep Marju, but if you've got another one, and unfortunately I've got Nicholson, I've got guys I've got to get rid of because of injury and bias scheduling. I am going to watch that first game very closely.
How closely?
Oh, I have to watch every minute.
Okay.
If Zach Lomax has a good game, doesn't re-injure anything, then I'm safely at 5 to 8 making that trade, bringing Kiraz in. If anything happens to Lomax, if there's any worry at all, then I'm pausing on the Kiraz and saying, you know what, I might just have to...
All right.
Because surely if Lomax plays well, then Kiraz will not be...
I think you Bronny, I think you're safe regardless. I think it's between Lomax and Toll. I think something would have to.
you think Turbo's
I think something would have to happen to both of them
You think Turbo's
for him to be
there
in calculations.
and Toya's there, whereas I think they might look at Turbo as a centre or a fullback and not as a winger. But either way, it won't matter if Toya because
I think he'll make the squad, but I still think he'll
Extended
he'll
squad.
play.
I think he's 4th choice winger between To'o,
should be
Lomax
safe,
and Turbo.
And I know you're probably busy on Friday. You might not be able to watch as intently as I will be, because
Wow.
she's got a more of a social life.
That's it.
Shall we say?
That's it.
Hubba Bubba's back for the final question. What team has the best bye schedule? Well, that's an interesting one because the Roosters don't actually play any of those major, what we'd call major, I guess, so in that sense. But then you look at guys like both the Cowboys after round 12 is so interesting because they don't have another one to round 27. Or the
Helpful.
Knights right now who don't have one to round 18. So I think those 3 are great. And then you've got teams like the Dogs, Manly, who kind of never seem to quite fall. If you get 1 or 2 of those guys as well, you're probably in a good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Drinkwater will be very popular after round 12.
Drinkwater, Purdue, if you still have held on to him, and maybe even a couple.
We need floggies or colour coded.
Yeah,
we can get that for Hubba Bubba and put it up.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's good.
Good show, Luke.
Mate, I think it was 25% better with this bloke.
Oh, wow. Don't tell Andrew.
We're going to throw the gauntlet. Well, it's
He's not listening.
it
Big shoes to
brings
fill
his
for
A
Andrew.
game, you
I don't know
know.
if I did it, but
Well done,
So-
Ben. That was a good show. And I'm Paulie G. Stay tuned all week, NRL.com and on the app. We've got those great in-app stories. I've had so many people come up to me and say, I love the new feature this year. I can just watch highlights quickly, can watch some of these clips. If you don't have the app and you're only using the browser, you need to get the app. Trust me, you'll love it. But all week long on the app and on the website, we've got heaps of fantasy content, so stay tuned to that. And we'll be back next Tuesday. If you're listening, why not join us and you can ask your own question on YouTube. We go live from 4 o'clock every Tuesday and we'll catch you then.